All right, now there was plenty to get through in the budget. So to get across it all, joining me to discuss some of those finer points is Judo Bank Economic Advisor Warren Hogan. Warren, welcome to the program. There's lots to get through, but let's start with migration. With 400,000 people to migrate to Australia by the end of this financial year and 315,000 the following, Warren, do you see this sudden surge in population as having a positive or a negative impact on Australia's prosperity?
Yeah, hi Amanda, and thanks for having me on the show. Look, this is the big shift in this budget. I think it's not being talked about enough. All the shift in the forward projections for government tax receipts, a big chunk of the improvement in future budgets is all the result of this surge in population growth in the current financial year. The chart you just showed, next financial year, it starts to come down to the levels the previous government was projecting. But of course, this surge now underpins a permanently larger workforce in Australia, at least as far as the Treasury estimates and assumptions are concerned, to the point where in 2032, the workforce will now be 2.7% bigger than what they thought just 6 months ago. So this is profoundly impacting the budget. And of course, the reality of it, which we have confirmation in the last few months that this is actually happening through some of the official statistics, is that we don't know how the economy is going to cope with such a big lift in the number of people coming into it in such a short space of time when it is essentially overheating, when we've got inflation as a problem, an economy that needs to slow down. We're bringing a lot of extra people into the economy that will add demand and make the RBA's job tougher of slowing the economy down. Of course, there's the benefit that this will help alleviate labour shortages, and that will be welcome by many businesses and other organisations. But it's more than just helping with labour shortages. This is going to add demand into the economy, and the most sort of critical point we're seeing at the moment is in the rental housing markets, where rents are surging on a basic shortage, and this is a big part of that reason there's a shortage.
The housing crisis really is biting hard and affecting inflation. Absolutely, Warren. We know that inflation is the real juggling act the Treasurer has had to grapple with, trying to ease cost of living pressures, but at the same time needing to drive down inflation. Has he got the right balance in what he has announced last night?
Well, look, I think in terms of their strategy, which we've known about now pretty much for the last 6 months, I think he probably has. I mean, he is really trying to do this juggle between providing cost of living support for low-income households and small business, which are most welcome, and I think few people will argue with the need for that, versus not putting extra money into a hot economy and making the RBA's job more difficult, as we were just talking about. And they could have done that by looking for cuts elsewhere. And I think this is actually the issue, is that I think the strategy is wrong. The government has basically decided not to participate in the fight against inflation. They are leaving it all to the RBA. What they're doing and what they're patting themselves on the back for is that they're not adding to the problem. Well, that's fine, and I think that's good. But I hate to see the irresponsible actions of a government adding to the problem, but I actually think they should be joining the fight, and I think they need to be cutting back. And for example, this budget surplus of $4 billion, if they were serious about trying to tackle inflation and get it down as quickly as possible, the surplus would be at least 10 billion, if not 20 billion. They'd be looking for cuts elsewhere, whether that's public sector efficiency dividends, but they're actually expanding the headcount in the public service. And of course, there's this whole raft of new spending, which most of it's welcome, but is it the right time given the challenges of inflation?
Yeah, I think those are wise words. There's huge risks associated with even just sitting on your hands right now. The pressure needs to be on to take the pressure down rather than just keep it in a neutral gear. Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate your contributions to the chat tonight.